Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be discussing suppliers and essentially the chain that can go horribly wrong if you do not have a credible supplier. This is going to lead to a lot of issues and we must not overlook this point. I'm going to be covering these issues first and foremost so you can understand the mindset behind it and the big picture, and then I'm going to be jumping into my computer and sharing a screen share with you of how to actually begin to find these credible suppliers so your business growth does not decrease. Hello, my name is Karina at Intumili, and this video is made with AMZScout. We came together to help you find Amazon products and to also explain everything so you have less mistakes. So let's first cover the importance of suppliers and the bad issues they could lead to if you don't find a good one and how it could actually deteriorate your business growth. So first of all, if you don't have a good supplier, this can lead to cash flow issues in your business, and that is not good. Cash flow issues can really halt the progression of your business, and how this happens is, you might think, how are these even related? So cash flow issues become when you have a really long lead time, maybe a shipping time, maybe they are other delays in product manufacturing. So it's really important to talk to a supplier that understands your business needs and can actually get the product out to you and see you as a priority. I mean, I have talked to literally hundreds of factories and I have been selling on Amazon for 2 years plus now. So I have quite an experience with contacting suppliers, and I teach all my students to really take this into consideration, take this very seriously, because if they don't, they can end up with really long lead times. They can end up with bad products, which is point number 2, low quality products for a high price if they don't know how to negotiate correctly. And then in turn, that leads to low reviews. All of this combined leads to a stop in the growth of your business. And that really takes a long time for you to come out of, because the best supplier, they will have a shorter lead time, they will prioritize you, they will respond to you very fast within a business days. So some suppliers that don't respond to you after a few days, don't even bother continuing and doing business with them, right? And ultimately, all of this is gonna catch up with you. Whether your shipment takes a while to get in and then it actually gets in, say the supplier offers you even a cheap rate and you go for it, but that leads to a low quality product, then you start to get bad customer reviews, and that is a very negative feedback loop. So we do really want to do our due diligence when we look for suppliers. When we search for this, of course, product research is a first priority. So if you are using AMZScout tools, which are extremely helpful, it's basically a pit stop for everything you need, right? You can find a good product using the web app. You can use their Chrome extension to analyze all the numbers. And then when you actually find the product, you can click the Alibaba logo and it will take you to actually show you the suppliers for that product and also their minimum order quantity. So it's a really helpful way to get started, to kind of see the bird's eye picture. And then as a starting step, after, look and go dive deeper to make sure that all of your ducks are in a row and you are doing your due diligence. So do not go easy on this step. Of course, also don't go easy on product research. Do your due diligence there when you are researching with AMZScout, and then use their tools to help you get initial suppliers. But I would recommend contacting about 15 to 20 when you first begin. That sounds like a lot, but you must look at all of your options. So let's actually jump into my computer, which I have prepared for you right here, and go into a screen share, because I want to show you how is the best way to contact suppliers, just for the most easiest way to really negate all those negative suppliers that might not have good business experience or are taking too long. And it's also important to negotiate with them to have the best price, but also to not sacrifice the quality, because if you're sacrificing quality, that is also something you don't want to do. So you want to have the best of both worlds, and you'll get that if you are talking to 15 at least, because you will phase some of them out, some of them won't respond, right? So let's say you contact all the ones that AMZScout recommended when you do your product research with their tools. I do also strongly suggest doing it manually, because it will give you more opportunities and more suppliers. So what you want to do is type in your product. I'm just using an arbitrary bird feeder as an example. And then you go here, and the first thing you want to do is click the trade assurance and verified supplier. Now, all this does is that it gives you options. So trade assurance is essentially a safe payment method when it comes to Alibaba. It's almost as having your money in escrow, and when the product is ready to be released, then the money gets released to the supplier, or actually they have access to it beforehand. But if anything goes wrong, you're protected there. I also strongly recommend never using a wire transfer, especially during the first few times or even more times working as a supplier, just because when you send out a wire, you have no protection. So make sure you are protected with trade assurance, and that you also pay with a credit card, because that gives you an other layer of protection, right? And verified supplier essentially means that they are paying money to Alibaba, which is the platform that hosts all of their listings, essentially, that they want to be there. That's not too serious, because anyone can pay, but it really helps because it lets you know that the supplier is serious. We also want to look at some of their other factors over here, and this is very helpful because it gives you a bird's eye view of everything they're doing, essentially. So it tells you how long they've been in business. Yeah, some people are in it for a long time, 17 years, wow. It tells you that they're verified, that they accept trade assurance. It tells you their overall rating. And the most important thing, or one of them, is their transactions. And this shows in the last 6 months. So obviously, this is all relative, because different categories do different amounts of money in a monthly period and a yearly period. But you want to make sure that you're not going with someone that is doing, let's say, $1,000 worth of product sales versus somebody who's doing, let's say, 200,000, right? Because clearly there's a huge discrepancies there. You want to go with somebody who's more experienced, that knows Amazon policies. That's not to say that suppliers that don't do a lot of money are not good suppliers, but you do want to go with kind of top of the line. There's several factors to consider, but you do want to look at this right here, 320,000 versus 520,000 in the last 6 months. That is these are two different bird feeders. And although these price points seem like a big difference, it's still okay, because both of them are clearly good suppliers because they're making money. But if we were to compare it to someone else, for example, this supplier here, he has no transactions, right? So that's a little bit alarming. Would you rather work with somebody who has, granted this is a different product, but I'm just using it as an example. Would you rather work with somebody that has over $300,000 or $500,000 worth of transactions versus somebody who has zero, right? That's a huge determining factor. Another thing you should pay attention to is the response rate right here. And this basically tells you how fast a supplier responds and to how many inquiries they respond. And the higher the better. However, don't get too structured on this. If it's above 80%, that's okay, because they do get a lot of spam messages as well from people who are also private label sellers. Maybe they're not really that interested in the product. So that's okay if it's not 100%, but the higher the better. Essentially, one of the most critical aspects to look for is how often they reply to your messages and if they take you seriously. If you send them many questions and they barely reply to you or take forever to reply to you, then obviously you're not a priority, and that's the one thing you want to really avoid. Because if they're not meeting their end for communication, even in the initial negotiations and the initial contact, then when push comes to shove and you actually need them to be serious about getting information for your products and your shipments, then they are probably not going to respond to you well at that point either, and that's just very stressful. You want somebody who is very responsive and will kind of meet you on all the questions that you have and be very clear with you, because you are going to be investing a lot of money, right? So the first point is just to kind of get some general quotes, and you're going to click right here, contact supplier, after you make an Alibaba account, and you're just going to put in a message requiring the quotation and things like that, and they'll get back to you. So really pay attention to level of communication, their English skills. Of course, English won't be perfect, and that's okay. You're just looking for a responsible supplier that's returning your conversation. And up here with the years, this shows how many years they've been in business. So a lot of the times there will be first-time suppliers for a year. That's not an automatic red flag. They could be good factories. They just haven't been on Alibaba for a while. Ideally, 2+ years is a good starting point. But if they are around for 1 year and they have good samples and they are communicating with you well, don't say no to them, because they can turn out to be a great supplier. It's really all about contacting them, and you won't know until you actually start to contact them. And when you do, of course, take all of these things into account. When you negotiate with them, you'll really get a feel for them. So you will know that if they have a short lead time, obviously, say a supplier, there's 2 different suppliers, and one, the prices are the same, and one has a shorter lead time. I would prefer the supplier with the shorter lead time, just because that will stop any cash flow issues. As far as low quality products, you can prevent that by either getting samples or really good photography, or ordering a small test order. There's many ways to do it, but good suppliers will understand that you're not trying to cut corners, and that product quality is very important. And because if it's not, then it will lead to low reviews, and they want your long-term business. So some people are afraid of being scammed by suppliers. That's not really a valid concern, because there's a lot of precautions you can take within Alibaba and your credit card companies to make sure it's safe on the first end. And then for the future, like I said, they want your long-term business. So they're not really looking to scam you. Most of them are not. So they just want long-term partnerships. And if you conduct yourself in a professional way when you communicate, using obviously proper English and templates to write out these communications with them, they will take you seriously and probably negotiate with you for the better. So yeah, but remember that obviously suppliers are important, but what's more important before you even get to that is actually finding a high quality product. And that is oftentimes even more challenging than this whole structure. So I do suggest that you check out the AMZScout tools, because they can really help you out with all the details, such as finding a niche with their web app product. Then from there, you can use the Chrome extension to analyze all the numbers, and then take that product further to analyze all of the keywords as well. So that's really helpful, and you can also get supplemental tutorials and information from them on how to use and guide you through all of those things. So anyways, it was a pleasure being on here today. Again, my name is Karina at Into a Milli, and it was a fun video. I hope that you learned some things. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video, and happy product hunting.